So, um, we will begin this promo as it would be.
Okay.
Um, of course, your character is known as. If you would like to say your character's name, go ahead.
Reaper.
Yes. Also, your full name, if you want to share that.
Roshanak Ayari.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to have to practice pronouncing that because I feel like I'm going to butcher it. But for now, I'll probably be referring to your character a lot as Reaper, just because I presume that's the name they mostly go by, being in the profession that they're in.
Right.
So with that, we'll get right into the scene. Um, the as Dustfall always is, it is a town of darkness and murk. It is a town of soot and ash from the vast warehouses crowding the districts of town. The fighting pits that you frequent, being a competitor, um, once a trainee, now what is considered one of the best fighters in the pits themselves. Your tutor, Marlene, known for being a champion of the pits time and time again. And from growing up at a young age, you have established yourself as a premier fighter. If not the best, one of the best. Is definitely the case. Um, Today, in the vast fighting pits, um, the sun. You find yourself several hours past midday. The sun is now, for the few weak hours of the day that the sun actually shines any amount of light, it is already falling over the horizon. Darkness is setting in. Torch lights are being lit around this pit, and you've been fighting now for 15, 20 minutes, which in some cases for you especially is considered long. Sometimes bouts that you've had may go longer, depending upon the competitor that you fight or how you feel about the fight, whether you're worried about a certain thing, so you might want to end the fight much quicker. But you currently find yourself battling the brute known as Brutus, we'll say. Brutus is a large Akarosian man with a long beard pulled down into one braid in front of his face. His hair is buzz cut on the side with a sort of mohawk of hair hanging back and kept tight in a ponytail behind him. He is shirtless, bare chested, many tattoos, cover his body.
Mm-hmm.
He's wearing simple slacks. The sand of the fighting pits was brought in, and a lot of competitors tend to fight barefoot. Maybe even yourself if you prefer, unless you have a particularly lucky pair of boots that you choose to use.
Right.
Your battle has been going on. You're both sweating. You're both giving it your all. But in truth, and I would say this, and this is up to you, but in truth, this fight has been very much one-sided in your favor. You've tested this competitor, Brutus. You've let him try his best, but you have tired him out. His sheer size and strength does not necessarily match your experience, your expertise, your wit, your finesse, even. And with that, you've sort of used his greatest strength to be your greatest strength in this fight, knowing that he would brutishly paw at you and try to grab you, attack you, grapple you, whatever the case may be. You've used that against him time and time again in this fight, and he finds himself winded and breathing. You each have taken blows from one another. You perhaps have a little bit of a bloodied lip. He has what looks like the darkening of a bruise across his eye or across his head there, maybe where you kneed him or something. And you're still very much enjoying the fight. These are those moments, I presume, that your character really, that Reaper really feels sort of alive. The adrenaline setting in, the energy, the crowd roaring around them, people chanting their name, people chanting for the competitor. It's really a high like no other, right? What Reaper does see, though, for a moment, Reaper is notices out of the peripheral of their vision as they're engaged with Brutus that their trainer Marlene, who normally stands, the pits themselves are a large sandy pit beset by what seems like wooden logs that have been lashed together around the outside. It's not a huge drop. We'd say probably about 7 or 8 feet, roughly. So it's enough that someone could scale up the side. And there's usually there's a ladder on both sides as it's needed. including an area that's sort of fenced off, so that if someone gets really, really hurt, they can just open up the doors and come down the ramp and pick up the competitor and take them off to the physician. But you look over and you see your trainer, Marlene, I believe is how it's said. Sorry, I mispronounced it. Paying attention like they normally do, giving you sort of like, hand signals and things like that, like telling, giving you the thumbs up and those sorts of things. But you notice that Marlene seems distracted. Marlene is not looking at the fight, which is not normally a thing. Marlene is looking off to the side, and there seems to be some individuals standing there talking to her. And as you draw your gaze, engaged in this fight for a moment, and see Marlene, you realize now that the individuals standing behind Marlene and talking to her are bluecoats, which are the sort of thuggish, think of like Pinkertons or officers of the law, the city guard, who are known to be very much as much as they are officers of peace, they are in fact a corrupt organization of thugs. And so, especially in districts like the one that you're in, some of the poorer districts where the fighting pits are, which I believe is the Dunslow fighting pits, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
They tend to be more thuggish, brutish, forcing people to pay them for protection and rackets and all the sort of corrupt things you would see in a large corrupted city. And so with that, you notice Marlene is talking to the bluecoats. And then Marlene sort of stops, and you can see that their face turns to you, and they have this very serious look, and they give you the signal, which is just like, end the fight. Get over here.
Okay, so I will end the fight as best as I can.
Okay. So we'll say you, you've been toying with Brutus and everything like that, and you will just, as one of his punches comes in, you just let his momentum carry him over. You turn and use his punch to force his body weight forward, throwing him down onto his back. You then immediately twist around the arm, catching it with your legs, and fall to your back, and immediately set him into, I believe, what's known as an arm bar.
Arm lock,
arm bar,
like that,
arm lock, and you start putting that pressure down. You've got your feet on his chest. He's trying to fight you off, but you're putting too much pain on him. Eventually, he starts screaming, and he's screaming, and you know that you're getting to that point where if you put more pressure and lean back more, you could break his arm.
I'm gonna whisper to him. I'm gonna be like, "Buddy, give up."
With that, he sort of looks at you, and all the fight in him just kind of goes out, and he has that moment where his eyes get big for a second, and he has the sudden realization. He's like, "Yep," and then he taps out.
All right, I'll release him as soon as he taps out.
At that point, he's still sort of laying on the ground. He's tired. He's holding his arm, clutching it. The physicians come down the ladder. It doesn't seem like he's completely knocked out or anything, obviously, because he's awake and whatnot, but he's just sitting there kind of clutching his arm. What are you doing at this point?
I will lean down and shake his hand.
Okay. He sort of reaches up with his bad hand, sort of accepting defeat and kind of giving you that half shake sort of a thing. You can tell he didn't want the fight to go this way, but the realization set over him, and he was like, well, this is just how this is.
If you ever need anything, you know where to reach me.
He sort of gives you a nod, shamefully, as the physicians basically start to come in and crowd around him and start checking his arm and whatnot. Marlene then is now standing at the edge and is motioning you over.
All right, I'll walk over there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll look at the bluecoats.
Mm-hmm. You head up the ladder. You get up on top. You're standing there next to Marlene. The bluecoats are looking at you. One of them.
Can I help you?
One of them, a big, sort of greasy-looking man. His hair set into a very fine sort of chin strap thing going on with this big mustache that sort of circles up, almost connecting to it, but then parting away from it.
Oh, I love that.
You can tell. You can tell that he eats very, very well. He's a large man. It's obvious that his time being in the Bluecoats, and especially in this district of town, Dunslow, that he has used the thuggish nature of the Bluecoats, you presume, to efficiency, to where he eats well and does well for himself. You even see a pocket watch, a very nice-looking pocket watch on a chain of silver, sort of descending into his into one of his sort of lapel pockets.
Yeah.
He looks over at you. So you're the girl then?
Yes, that would be me.
Reaper, I'm told your name is.
That's right.
Well, Reaper, we need to talk to you for a second.
About what?
We were told by the investigators to bring you in under suspicion of criminal activity.
And where's your proof?
Proof is in the pudding. You see, person you may know by the name of Aldo was attacked recently.
Mm-hmm.
And when we asked the witnesses who done it, they said you's done it.
Okay.
You know this Aldo guy? He says just sort of trying to cut you off.
What did Aldo say?
Marlene sort of steps in the moment. Is like, hold up, excuse me. This is obviously a big misunderstanding. Aldo is a dear friend to both myself and to Reaper. And then the Bluecoat sort of cuts her off. It's like, I don't care what you're saying. We're here to talk to her. We were told that you under suspicion. I don't know why, but that's just the word on the street, And we got a job to do, and that job is to bring you in.
And what did Aldo say?
Aldo's unconscious in a bed, miss.
So what's going to happen when you find out you took the wrong person in?
Well, I don't ask questions like that, I just follow orders, if you know what I mean. The boss says bring him in, we bring him in.
And how much does it cost for you to not be able to find this person?
How much? I see what you're saying there. Well, let me think here for a second. Why don't we take a walk?
Just you and me?
Yeah. We'll catch some air, see the setting sun. We can chat about it. I'm gonna investigate here a bit, blokes, he says. He sort of taps the other guards that are with him. Marlene kind of looks at him and then looks at you and gives you that nod, that sort of reassurance that if you need anything, I'm right here,
Yeah.
I've got your back, kind of thing. And so you and the what seems like sort of the captain, not so much captain of the district, but sort of the leader of this little group of Bluecoats, lieutenant probably is the actual rank or something of that nature. Lieutenant maybe. You and the sort of leader of this group of Bluecoats go walking off away from the pit itself into one of the back areas where kind of buildings had been set up for different competitors to sort of set their gear or, prepare for the fight, that sort of back area thing away from the crowd and everything that has some
locker
doors.
Rooms.
Yeah, locker rooms, exactly. So sort of the 1800s Duskfall version of what locker rooms might look like, And so you head back into the hallways of these locker rooms. There's not a whole lot of light, but there is a bit of torchlight. Dunslow being not one of the nicest area of towns, they don't afford the quality of having ectoplasm based batteries used, cartridges used to power their light bulbs and lights like some of the nicer, richer districts of town have. So they usually use oil lanterns or torches, whatever is sort of the easiest thing to do. And so you head back into the area, and so he steps inside and he's kind of sitting there looking at you and sort of looks you up and down. You can tell that he has that sort of moment where he's trying to gauge you. And you've seen it before. You've seen it a lot of times. He's sizing me up. Yeah, he's sizing you up. He's having that moment where he's like, could I take this person if it became a fight? And you recognize that because you've seen that hundreds and hundreds of times, right?
Seeing that, my response is to shrink myself and make myself look smaller and less
threatening.
Less threatening.
Okay. He kind of perks up his chest, trying to be like, trying to get
That's what I thought.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that sort of thing. And so he just sort of after that moment he just sort of steps right back in. He's like, so I was told to find a reaper, and so far I thought I found them, but it seems that you're wanting to discuss. Maybe my eyes deceive me. Is that what you're trying to say?
Eh, you could say that.
Okay. Well, I know how it is. Information spreads, those sorts of things. Maybe I got some false information. But, it depends on shall we say, the price of that information.
Right. And what's it going to take for you to have a memory lapse or perhaps blink?
How much did you get in the purse from that match there?
Mm, not sure. How much did I get?
How much are you asking?
Yeah.
So remember, this game has this sort of interesting, sort of esoteric a reference to currency in the form of coin, but
Right.
one coin usually represents about like a bag of silver or something like that,
Okay, so
right?
I
So
got probably about a coin, right?
yeah, probably. Like
Okay.
from this is a big fight. He was an up and comer. You dragged it out. There was lots of betting and stuff. So easily your
Okay.
winnings were at least a full bag, probably of silver.
Okay. All right. I've got about a coin.
Full bag of silver you got there, eh? Well, that sounds like a good price to me.
The full bag, hmm? Is that enough for you and your companions or
That is to me. If you're willing to give up your winnings from the night, I could say I didn't find a reaper here. Seems like a fair price. That's like 2 weeks of pay for me.
how about you can't find a reaper here and you let me know when somebody's hot on my tail?
Oh, you think someone else is going to come after you?
Perhaps. If I'm the one they sent you after.
Well, it wasn't so much they sent me after you as, how the investigators do. They checked it out, and the information they found, you know how it works. They said, find Reaper, and here we are.
Hmm.
But, bag of coin, your winnings. I think that's a fair price to say, I didn't find no Reaper here. Neither did my mates over there.
You got a deal.
Sounds good. Shakes your hand.
Shakes his hand.
He's got these big, like, sausage fingers. His hand's a little, like, clammy, but at the same time, it's, like, kind
Uh,
of sweaty. It's got that greasiness to it. Like the guy, because they don't have, like, colognes, so they have, like,
yeah.
perfumes. You can tell this guy is basically the equivalent of, like, the person who covers themselves in Axe body spray
Yeah.
with
Yep.
the oil. So his hand's
Yep.
got that, like, oil thing to it. It kind of, like, it's sort of left on your skin, It's like a musk.
Shower in a can.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So he shakes your hand, and
I hand over the coin.
so you head back to Marlene. You grab your
Yeah.
pouch of winnings. Marlene sort of looks at you like and hands you the pouch, like kind of like Marlene trusts you, but Marlene is like
Yeah.
it doesn't sit right, that
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
thing, right? But she hands it over because it's your money. Hands over the pouch, the bag, and the blue coat is just sort of waiting there with his hand out.
Put it right in his filthy hand.
right, and it's filthy. Yeah, he takes it, puts it into like a belt pouch, kind of thing. Big fat
Yep.
belt pouch. You can tell there's the sound of other coins in there. Like he's probably hit up a few places that he forces protection from. He's like, "Well, it was nice meeting you, Not Reaper. Well, have a good day, shall you?"
Thanks.
He
You too.
tips his blue coat, sort of hat to you, because they have those old style, kind of like old style police caps, like the ones. Tips it to you,
Yeah.
and off he walks, and the rest of them follow him out. At that point, Marlene looks over at you and was like, "What the fuck was that about?"
Bribery.
Oh, he,
Yeah,
he
he says it's the investigators sent them to find me, so we have to figure out what happened to Aldo and why they're pointing at me.
Yeah, I mean that's the question, right? Like why would someone try to blame you? I mean, you and Aldo go way back. I mean,
Right.
and anybody that knows you, you visit Aldo all the time. Anybody that
Yeah.
knows you, like, why? They wouldn't say that you. If anything, they'd be like, "This is a good friend,"
Yeah.
that sort of thing. That's just weird. Do
I'm
you?
not sure, but I'm gonna have to start investigating.
Yeah. Do you want to kind of look into it a little bit? Like, what are you
Yeah.
thinking? Okay.
Well, I want to go visit Aldo first, but
Okay.
since they're sending them after me, that might not be a good idea.
I mean, why don't you just wear some different clothes, maybe put a hood on or something,
Could
and
do that, yeah.
yeah, I mean, people might recognize me. I could do the same thing, and we'll,
Yeah,
we'll
that's
just
fair.
we'll just head over, see if we can find him. You and Marlene head back to the locker rooms. You change your clothes. You throw on some, sort of street, not to say street clothes, but you know what I mean, like clothes to sort
Right.
of blend into the part of town you're going to. Um, you're heading to Wicker Street, which I believe we discussed was in Char Hollow, if I remember
Okay.
right. Wicker Street being the name of the street that you sort of grew up on with Aldo, and where Aldo is basically taken residence in the last, and is sort of a figurehead in the area, like a local leader in a sense.
Right.
So you head there, and you find yourself, you've arrived in on Wicker Street. You see the familiar scenes. You smell the familiar smells that you grew up with. It's somewhat nostalgia, sort of setting in. There's people passing by, people going about their lives. There's always the hustle and bustle of all the different like sort of steam pipes and cooking fires and steam pots of people cooking and lights and lanterns of fire and oil. This being also not a super nice part of town, so it doesn't have electric bulbs from ectoplasm or anything like that. But people are hustling and bustling. It's still at this point still early evening, so people haven't quite like settled into their nightly routine of people going to taverns or people partying or whatever the case may be, taking a load
Right.
off. Most people are now heading home after their jobs at their various places of work, and are settling in, getting some food, whatever the case may be, and starting to sort of end their days of work, their day, quote unquote, should I say?
Right.
Because
Right.
day is sort of a very short time of light, but the day is still, that sort of.
Right.
They get up in the dark, they work through the sun, it ends in almost the dark, basically, sort of thing. So you find
Right.
yourself on Wicker Street, and as you're walking through the familiar area of Char Hollow, um, you find Aldo's home,
Okay.
and outside you see a couple of familiar neighborhood friends, a few people you knew, the familiar sort of mother to you whose name we'll say is Henna. She's sort of the mother of the street. She's an older woman, kind of in her late 60s, early
Yeah.
70s. She's cooking in a big pot, steaming what seems like some sort of vegetables or mostly mushrooms, because mushrooms tend to be the cheapest easy thing, but it's like mushrooms and different things that she may have been able to just barely afford, mixed in with mostly a bed of mushrooms.
Yeah.
And so there's this sort of sauteed seasoned thing going on to the best of her ability, and it smells amazing. It smells
Right.
excellent. She sees you and she's like, oh, um I'm gonna say that the nickname they probably gave you was probably like Rosh or
Okay.
Ross or something like that. Shorten your name, Roshanik, right? Did I say that
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So they call you the Rosh, and she's like, "Oh, Rosh, dearie, it's so good to see you. Oh, come on over.
Hi, Hannah. How are you?
I'm doing well. Um, I
What
bet you're.
happened to Aldo?
Aldo was off in a off on a date, I think, is what happened, and a man attacked him. Um, He was walking down the street a few nights ago, and some Scovelander came out of a tavern in a huff and apparently just attacked him with a knife, stole his watch, stole his purse and then snatched the purse of his date, and then just ran off down the street.
The investigators are looking for me.
Are they?
Yeah.
Well, I don't.
They said that the witnesses pointed me out.
All of us told them that we saw a Scovelander man do it. I don't know what they're going on about. You know who I did see around here though.
Who's that?
What's that? That guy, the guy, right? What's his name?
Is it Shale?
Yeah, that was it. I was gonna say it was some big dude. You know, it looked like he'd been to Iron Hook or something. He's got the sort of, Iron Hook tats on him and whatnot. He didn't seem very nice. Yeah, I think that was his name too. It's like Chell, something like that. Yeah, I think that was it. He was snooping around, and I think I saw the Bluecoats maybe talking to him.
That's probably where they got the information from.
Yeah, I was gonna say I heard of him, but he doesn't come around these parts much. Aldo pretty much, told him to get the fuck out a few times. So I don't know, but here, take a bowl of food. You too, Marlene. Here you go, and she
thank you.
serves you a bowls of food. But head inside with Aldo. Here, I'll give you a third bowl. Maybe if you woke up, you can feed him some of that too.
All right, I'll do that.
Yeah, he's just inside his place in his bed.
All right.
He's been sleeping a lot though, but yeah, give him my best if he does wake up.
All right. So I will take the bowl and the other bowl, and then we'll walk to where he's at.
You head, through the simple area of town, basically a few little hovels later, because most of them are think of like duplexes, except a lot of them are basically either right next to each other or actually connected, basically sharing a wall. A lot of these places were put up by most of the families who live here, or put up by other people or whatever the case may be. And so there's this sort of neighborhood vibe, like, we help each other's houses since we're all sort of connected in that way, right?
Yeah.
So you head into Aldo's humble abode. It's a single room. Think of like a little bit bigger studio, kind of old styley. It's got an area where it's obviously sort of the kitchen with like a washing basin, and water set into it. He's got the bed over in the side. There's a window leading out to the front. There's sort of a set like almost like a fireplace that's not actually built into the building, but is sort of set in there with a sort of rickety made flue. Yeah.
Flue.
Yeah,
flue.
chimney basically. A small flue.
Yeah,
So small
Yep.
chimney going out through and letting the smoke and whatnot kind of escape from inside, so he's not choking to death or anything like that.
Right.
And you see him sort of laying in bed, and he's slightly sitting up. You can see that he has a shirt on, but that shirt is like unbuttoned. Think of like kind of like a nicer shirt kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like that style of tailored where it buttons down. It's unbuttoned, and you can see there's a big bandage with that the red markings of blood sort of seeping through it slowly. Not super super thick or anything, not like he's bleeding out, but you know what I mean, like there's just that remnant of from the wound itself.
Right.
And you can see that he's got sort of one hand set over it. He seems like he's unconscious. And as you enter in, your steps sort of ringing through this small home lit, by oil lamps and things of that nature. You're sort of beset once again by that nostalgia, kind of how you always are anytime you come to visit Aldo, having spent, your childhood with your friends and the other members of Aldo's crew, basically, sort of growing up in this area and that sort of thing. You see Aldo sort of perk up, like he's like trying to open his eyes a little bit at the sound of your steps across the floor.
Okay. Hey, buddy. Want some stew?
Hey. You can just see he laughs, but there's that wince of pain.
Yeah.
To the laugh. He's like, "Oh, help me up.
All right, I'm gonna put the bowls down and I'll go help him
Yeah,
up.
you help him sort of set up. Marlene helps as well, putting pillows behind him, sort of support him. He's now sort of more sitting up. His eyes, he's now opening his eyes a little more, but they're not like fully open. You know, you can tell he's sort of struggling between that space between falling back asleep and resting and trying to be awake, like he really wants to be awake.
Yeah.
Um, how how the fights going, Reaper? How you been?
Been pretty good. Been pretty good. Better than you, apparently.
Ugh, you know how it is.
Yeah. Did a number on you, huh?
Yeah, it seems that way.
Yeah. Well, do you have protection around here?
The neighborhood's been keeping a good eye on me, but you know, can only do what we can do. I'm
Hmm.
not the young buck I once was, you know.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. I appreciate you stopping by though.
Yeah, Henna says hi.
Oh, she's such a sweet lady.
Yeah.
Always taking care of me.
So I just bribed some blue coats that were sent after me for stabbing you.
What?
Yeah. I think Shale had something to do with it. Because Hannah saw him talking to the blue coats.
When will that guy just quit, you know?
Probably when he's underground.
Well, I know how it is, but, you know, be careful with that sort of stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you got a good head on your shoulders, Ross. But you know, when you were younger, that temper.
Well, I'm glad to see you're alive.
Yeah, I'm managing. I'm managing. I would say though that I wanted to talk to you about something. Maybe you could look into it for me.
What's that?
I I mean, obviously they're trying to blame you for this mugging, but I think something else happened. I don't know how to explain it. I I remember, you know, when the attack happened, that I remember laying on the ground and I saw a man. He seemed like he was young, you know, like not too old, but like there was just this stress about him. This you could see it in his eyes. You know, he was the one that pulled the knife out of me, and he was holding it in his hand like he was gonna try and help defend me and defend Eunice, the nice lady I was on a date with, and then he just broke, and he laughed, and then he cried, and then he ran away. And the weird part I remember just before everything sort of faded out was I was looking down the street and I saw the alleyway he went into, and I saw him standing there, and out of nowhere, a young girl appeared. I don't know how to explain it. I feel crazy just talking about it, but you know, the spirits, you know.
And this is the guy that stabbed you?
I can't remember. I just remember being
You just remember
attacked.
that guy.
I just remember being attacked, and then he was there over me, and he pulled the knife out. I don't know if he stabbed me or if somebody else stabbed me. It's all sort of a blur.
Huh.
I mean, Eunice might remember better, but no one's been able to find her. I don't know what happened to her. I hope she's okay.
Interesting. Well, I will definitely look into that.
Yeah,
All of it.
I heard. I I thought I recognized the man, but I don't know where I recognized him from. But the girl that she just appeared, like just appeared, and you know, I might have just been seeing. Maybe it was me falling unconscious or imagining it, but this girl, she just appeared and she started talking to the man, and then he broke, and that's all I remember. And the
Huh.
next thing I know, you know, here I am in my bed, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Interesting. I'll definitely look into that for you.
Well, just be careful. There's more than just jail poking around. Somebody came by, seemed real official like. I acted like I was asleep, but they spoke to Henna. They said they represented the ministry. And they said they were looking for the man who apparently attacked me.
The ministry.
Normally, that seemed weird to me, right? Normally it's not the ministry looking for people.
Yeah. Yeah, she mentioned something about telling them it was a Scovlander.
Yeah. Yeah, the guy I remember was pale. He was rough. He looked like he lived on the street. He seemed like he was having a rough go of it, you know what I mean? And there was a moment where I remember he was so close to me, and I remember looking into his eyes and just feeling like I could just feel his pain. I don't want to believe that that's the man who attacked me, but maybe it was. Maybe he was all doped up on something. I don't know.
Could be. I've never experienced that before.
Just be careful.
All right.
Be careful, Ross. There's a lot of people poking into whatever this was. Or whoever this guy is. I don't know if it has anything to do with me, but if people come looking for you, associating you with this guy, this sounds like bad news.
Yeah, fair. Well, I think if they're looking for me, that was Shale's doing, and that should die down soon.
Oh, hopefully.
But if the ministry's looking for this other guy, that's big.
Yeah, you might want to try and get ahead of this one.
Yeah.
Maybe make sure that Shale doesn't do any more damage before that damage can't be repaired.
Undone. Right.
Yeah. Well, at that point, the door sort of swings open, and Hannah's like, "Oh, look at the time. I don't want to interrupt you, old friends, but Aldo needs to get some more sleep." And Aldo sort of laughs at that. He's, "Hannah always telling me what to do. You know how it is." But he sort of tries to reach out his hand, like very weakly, but he reaches out his hand, and then sort of like weakly grasps yours, and he's just like, "You take care."
Yeah, you too. I'll look over at Henna and let her know. Hey, Henna, if you need any muscle or backup, let me know.
Yeah, Marlene sort of takes a cue from you on that. She's like, I'll send some of the trainees over here. We'll keep an eye on the place."
Thank you, Marlene.
Yeah, no problem. "Hey, you be okay over there, Aldo. Be okay, okay?" Marlene says, and Aldo kind of gives him a smile. She says, "Nice seeing you again, Henna," and then sort of puts her hand on Henna's shoulder, and then slowly sort of walks out.
I'll follow her.
Henna stops you for a second.
Okay.
Like right as Marlene is leaving. She whispers in your ear, "I know Aldo probably told you. People at the ministry were looking for you, but I think this is much more dangerous. I didn't want to tell him everything. Be careful."
Okay.
And then she hugs you. Holds you.
Then I hug her back, yeah.
Yeah. And she says, "Don't forget your stew," and she hands you the bowls for you and Marlene.
I will walk and eat.
Yeah. So with that, you head back to the familiar fighting pits, and as you arrive, you see the competitor, that you had fought earlier, Brutus, and he's now sitting in a chair. He seems like he's a little bit. He's got like a sort of splint thing on his arm. And
I'll have picked up an extra bowl of stew, and I'll bring
Sure.
it with me for that competitor.
Sure, totally, yeah. So you walk over. It's a little cold by the time you get back, but it's still pretty good stew. And you set it down, and he's oh, what?
Cut for a minute.
Oh, I was literally just about to wrap it up.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
So you walk up to Brutus, put the soup down. He sort of looks at it, looks at you, and he's like, "Hey, sorry I was a little out of it at the end of our fight there." You can tell he's like still slurring his speech and everything a little bit. Like maybe he's a concussion or something, you're not sure.
Yeah.
But you know what? That was a good fight. I've got respect for you, Reaper.
Thanks. I got respect for you too.
And he reaches up his hand to shake yours.
I'll shake his hand.
If you ever need a partner in that ring, or I appreciate you not busting my arm, taking me out. That
Absolutely
could have been the end of my career right there.
Right.
You're a good person, Reaper.
Thanks. I try to be.
And with that, as the darkness of Duskfall sort of sets in, as night becomes real, setting in over the city, the ash cloud slowly falling, you and Marlene walk off towards the locker room to sort of unpack all of the things that you've heard, all the things that you felt. And all of these memories are sort of slowly washing over you. And I think that's where we will end this scene.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to end the recording.
Yeah.